MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Hey, welcome to the MedBix Webcast. This is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm not Albert Einstein, but I think my guest could be. She is. I need to turn off the music. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay. So she could be the Albert Einstein because she's an engineer and a doctor. She's a chemical engineer and she is a nephrologist, a specialist also on the top of it. So we're going to talk with her in a few minutes. But after that, I'm going to present a topic on Charles Drew, and one of the pioneering physicians, went to the same alumni from the same school as Dr.Irith Lebovich went to school with. So it's going to be exciting. And let me, she is an engineer, as I said, that chemical engineer from McGill University from Montreal, Canada. I grew up in Canada, not grew up, but I went to school there. I lived there for a while in Brassard, Montreal, a suburb of Montreal, and I went to school in Concordia, right across McGill. It's not that far from McGill. And then my brother lived there. I have a lot of family. It came from there, so I have a lot of fond memories of Montreal. I used to go to Laurent. It's like carnival there. I really truly enjoyed Montreal, even though it is a really cold. But now, I moved to Atlanta. It's a hot. So it's kind of a strange situation. Two extreme weathers I got into. But both are the beautiful cities. I loved it. And then Montreal. Dr. Irith Lebovich, she has a very interesting background. She was born in Argentina and then grew up in Israel and then went to school in McGill. Let me bring her to the table. She can tell you a little bit more about herself, more than So, hey, welcome, Dr. Irith Lebovich. Welcome to the MedBix Webcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your background. It's very interesting to us. You're an engineer, you're a doctor, and lived in so many countries. It's just exciting.
Like you, a little bit of everything, huh?
Yeah.
So I started in biochemistry and chemical engineering in about 20 years ago, well over 20 years ago. And engineering was really a bridge to medicine. I've got Jewish parents, and I don't know if you're familiar with Jewish parents, but they ask their kids often enough, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And they usually answer the question saying, so you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor. So in my mind, I was programmed to think that I was going to be a doctor, and I've got absolutely no regrets. I absolutely love my career. But as a backup plan, I did chemical engineering and biochemistry. I was the first to have graduated from the biotech program at the University of Ottawa. And it was my playground. I have to admit that I have a very, very soft spot for engineering. I loved it. It was fun. That's where I learned to really work with other people, to do a lot of creative and critical thinking. And from chemical engineering, biochemistry, I went to Hamilton University to study medicine, and then to McGill, where I did internal medicine and nephrology. So I've been bouncing around between different cities here in the country.
Very, very interesting. You know that I had a very close friend of mine. He's a cardiologist here in Silicon Valley, and he was over 70 years old, and his daughter got she needed a kidney transplant. So he gave at that age he gave a transplant. He donated a kidney to her. Think about that, the demand, and there's so many things coming up. She's still very young lady, and everything, she's healthy in general, but why there is so much demand for this? What is going on with the dialysis? There's a demand for dialysis. There's a demand for kidney transplant surgeries, and then new kidneys, donors. What is going on in the world about the dialysis world?
Sure. So just to kind of summarize it in simple terms is that obviously we're dealing with an aging population, which doesn't really apply to your friend's daughter, unfortunately, who was young when she was diagnosed with kidney disease. But we are dealing with an aging population and issues around lifestyle. So less activity, less movement, poor nutrition, overweight and obesity, diabetes and hypertension, the last two being the primary cause of kidney disease and end-stage kidney disease. So what we are seeing are increasing rates of patients who are ending up with advanced kidney disease and eventually requiring some type of what we call renal replacement therapy.
So what is renal replacement therapy? I didn't know. Could you please expand on that one a little bit?
Yeah, so whenever you need something to replace your kidney function, where your kidneys are no longer able to work, no longer able to clean the blood and to remove the waste products, then, oh, there we go. I felt like I was talking into the screen, Roman. I was looking for your face. I'm happy.
I
That's
just
great.
trying to introduce you in the
It's so much
beginning.
easier to talk to you now.
You
This
are
is great.
prettier
Thank
and
you.
beautiful and smarter than me, so I just want
No,
to give you the
no,
whole
no, no.
screen.
Much prefer to see you. Thank you, Romana. This is great. Much better. So, renal replacement therapy. So, either dialysis, so when your kidneys are no longer functioning, there are two types of dialysis that one could choose: hemodialysis through the blood, or what we call peritoneal dialysis through the belly, or obviously transplantation. So, these are really the basic options that we have right now.
So there is a lot of people go to India from here to do the transplant surgeries. Now there's a lot of rules and regulations and coming up in every country because they very rich people who used to go to India and buy the kidneys. Now
Correct.
not anymore. That the India is coming up with all the third world countries, other countries, developing countries are coming up with the restrictions on the kidney donations. So I think that is going to be much more a strain on the kidney situations, right? If you,
Yeah, I mean, we could
it's an
look at
ethical issue, of course.
yeah, there's an issue of certainly. I mean, we're having an increasing number of people on dialysis. This is becoming quite problematic because it's a very resource intensive and very pricey procedure. But I think that the main way to address it, the way that I see it, is how could we go around it? I mean, until we get a different type of technology and hopefully one day an artificial kidney. Um, but prevention is first and foremost. I mean, many of our patients we could have slowed down the process or not even reached it at all had we been able to counsel them or they've been able to motivate themselves to lose weight and to adopt healthier lifestyles. So it is a preventable condition. And then again, there's also the issue around conservative therapy. So oftentimes we come across patients who are especially older or maybe have certain illnesses that have reduced their quality of life, who feel obliged for certain reasons to do dialysis, when as a matter of fact they would feel much more comfortable just kind of accepting the natural course and not doing any dialysis in the first place.
The one more thing you always talking about, on your website, I saw your post about a physician burnout. This
Mm.
is a worldwide phenomena. I interviewed several doctors in the United States and around the world. They were constant complaints about the physician burnout. Tell me a little bit about the in Canada what happened during the pandemic and how it is trickling down into the physician burnout. Overall, healthcare professional burnout is happening in Canada and everywhere else.
I think that the numbers, interestingly enough, because I follow a lot of the conversation on LinkedIn, and your system is by far much more complicated than ours, with so many different uh, layers of nuances, etc. Canada's healthcare system is quite simpler, and yet we're experiencing probably burnout rates that are very similar to the ones in the US. So people are leaving the profession. They're leaving the profession in masses. They're retiring much earlier. They're moving from the public system to the private system here in order to have to deal with fewer government regulations, and many Canadians don't have access to physicians here, to primary care physicians. If I recall correctly, we're looking at about 6 million Canadians who don't have access to a family
That
physician in
is
the
a
country out of a population
staggering.
of 40 million. Yeah,
That is a staggering number. Um,
staggering number.
So, what is there any strategy the Canada is coming up with, or any hospital systems are coming up with, or the provinces is are addressing that kind of problem, or even they are addressing, they are not addressing enough? What is going on with that solution side?
I mean, you're seeing a lot of solutions being thrown around, mindfulness, meditation. A lot of them are focused on the individual, which I think is incredibly important. But we know that much of the changes that need to happen on a system level and concurrently both individual and system levels. So there are solutions that are being proposed, that are being implemented. But at the end of the day, Romana, what we're seeing is that the numbers aren't improving. Burnout rates are only increasing. So we have not found the magic recipe yet. And I think that the major issue is really that we're not tackling the main problems when it comes to physician, which is autonomy and purpose. So physicians' autonomies are not what they used to be before. We've lost our independence to a large degree, and also have lost our sense of purpose in the way that we function and we operate today.
Irith, something interesting going on. Another aspect is a physician suicide. Is actually the compared to the general population, physician suicide, particularly in the United States, is much higher than a general population statistics.
Sure.
Is it that same thing holding good and holding that kind of a bad statistics in Canada and everywhere else? I don't know much about following that rest of the world.
I don't know about the rest of the world, but I imagine that our numbers are relatively similar to yours in terms of rates. We do know that amongst the physician population, the rate of suicide is higher than in the general population for sure.
One of the complaints the physicians do is I don't know whether just correct me if I'm wrong about this in Canada, is of electronic medical records. There is so much demand of, demanding of the documentation side. Their physicians were asked to do a lot of work, documentation that is creating a lot of additional burden to the and pressures to the physicians. You think that is also the same situation in Canada?
Look, I mean, I use electronic health records, and we need to look at both the positive and the negative, Romana. I mean, we need to document information. I think where the issue really lies with electronic health records is to what degree those who are using these are being involved in the implementation of these electronic health records. So if you've got, depending on what purpose you're meeting with these records, they could either be an increase in burden or potentially make your life by far much easier. So, I don't know to what degree they use EHRs in the States, but I have the feeling that they use them more than here. I know of many institutions where they're still using paper records. And I could tell you, when I do go to these institutions where they're using paper charts, it's by far much more work. By far
Yes.
more work. I mean, you're reading people's illegible handwriting. You're looking for information that's much more difficult to retrieve than having access to an HR from anywhere, anytime.
I'm
And
glad
you're
you.
fighting for charts.
Interesting. That's a very good perspective from your side about that. If the some people in this country argue that, which is not true, which is not which won't be that go back to the handwriting things. It's just ineligible and it creates a lot of problems. I agree with you. Yeah, you started a company called Agrumo. Agrumo is a. I was intrigued by that name itself. Tell me, what is that? What does that company do? What do you do with that company? Agrumo.
So I created the company a couple of years ago. I left my clinical practice at the hospital, and I work part time right now. So significantly, reduced my workload to be able to concentrate on this company. And we teach healthcare professionals how to communicate with patients, how to connect with patients at a very deep level. Because I truly believe, Romana, this is where we find the greatest source of satisfaction in the work that we do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also, I was very intrigued by your actually the solutions you gave a path to clear solutions. Not everybody comply. Everybody says that you have to increase the relationship with the patient, physician patient relationships, or physician burnout, or whatever the addressing you're doing. And then how do you communications? You gave a clear path the solutions. I saw that six kind of a path he gave. Very interesting. Can you expand? Just can you give us a little bit of a brief on that one?
Yeah, so the six pillars: to be present, to be able to build trust with the patients, to be able to negotiate with their reality, because you need to we need to use a lot of critical and creative thinking in the work that we do. Nothing is textbook clear. Every patient is very, very different, has a different reality, different situations, different conditions, different limitations, etc., dreams and aspirations and worries and concerns, and how to champion for our patients, how to advocate for change. So these are the pillars that we have. And I could tell you from my own personal experience, Romana, as somebody who, I guess, it occurred to me all of a sudden after all this time that I essentially qualify when it comes to the definition of burnout. I was working in a very toxic work environment that I experienced bullying for a period of 5 years. By definition, I was burnt out. I was very emotionally drained. And where the idea of Yagruma was born is very, very simple. I realized that the connection that I have with my patients, the relationships that I have with my patients, saved me. They absolutely saved me.
So tell me, that is a mystery behind us. The tree. The tree gives you, it allows other trees to grow around it. Tell me a little bit of the mystery of the tree.
Yes, it's a tree that grew. I encountered this tree in Puerto Rico a few years ago, but I have the feeling that I came across this tree in Martinique while I was just on vacation a couple of weeks ago. So it grows in the rainforest of Puerto Rico, and when disaster strikes, when there's fire, whatever there may be, it's one of the very first ones to grow, and it creates a canopy for the trees that are shade loving. So it essentially helps repopulate the rainforest.
It's a conscious tree, a
Conscious
tree with a
tree.
consciousness.
Yes, so I think
With the
so.
empathy and consciousness. That's
Yeah,
what is lacking for humans. The tree has better than that nowadays.
for
You know,
sure.
yeah, that one of the thing is that you're an engineer. What kind of a engineering qualities you brought to the medicine? As a physicist, I'm a physics master's in physics. I think they see the medical systems in different lenses. That's why my podcast is based on through the physics lens, the lens of physics. So you're a nephrologist and you're a specialist, and you're engineer on the top of it. You're a chemical engineer. What kind of a things that you look through that lens? What kind of solutions, what kind of things you can do better with that kind of a engineering background?
I think engineering is probably one of the best bachelors to be able to get. It serves a purpose no matter what. It's the way that we think, the way that we're trained to think in a very critical and very analytical way. Um, and in a creative way as well. So it's really a thinking process, and also a tremendous amount of collaborative work. I remember back in my days of engineering, we had a ton of projects. We were working in teams. We needed to get along. We needed to come up with solutions together. And so it's a mindset. Engineering really is a mindset, and I think that it serves its purpose, just like physics, in the physical sciences, no matter what you end up doing later on in life.
That is a really truly, we need I strongly feel sometimes that in the talking with so many physicians in this country. I am a physician. I deal with the physicians every day. I tell you that one thing is, I think there is a need for that kind of engineering input in the healthcare, needed, badly needed. I agree no more with that statement. And also with the compassion, which is your tree was suggesting. It's a beautiful, Edith, it's a truly an honor to talk with you. It is a
Likewise.
privilege, and it is a breeze. You did better than me, in
No,
explaining things. So you're wonderful. Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
and you keep coming back. And don't be, I think as you said that one of the things is the communication with the patients, communication with the overall public. You got to say that physicians have to communicate in overall public what the healthcare importance of healthcare, why there is a burnout there. If you don't speak about it, how the general public know about it? So when you start talking about it, there is a huge problem, systemic problem going on. So that people like you keep coming back to our shows and talk about it. It's very critical. In fact, that is where the engineering, where the rubber meets, where the engineering meets the real needs of the healthcare. That's healthcare needs where the real engineering, it requires engineering kind of tools for the to solve some of the problems we have, particularly in complex healthcare system like in the United States. So tell me anything, final words you want to say something to our audience, or
I have to thank you for bringing that up, Romana. And I think that it's so important. What I've noticed in the last few months while I've been on LinkedIn is that there's a lot of conversation amongst people in healthcare and experts in healthcare, but I'm not sure that we're having the right conversation with our patients. And I'm not convinced our patients truly understand what we're going through. The partnership that we have not leveraged is that with the patients. They're our biggest allies. They give to us, and they can give us to us as much as we give to them. And I think that it's really important to invite them to the conversation and to really explain what we're going through and how they can help us get through our days. So thank you for bringing that up. It's such an important point.
that's why you're doing with the company Agrumo. I think they should contact you. Agrumo, yeah, the website is agrumo.com, right? Yeah, what is
Agrumo.ca.
CA, your Canadian extension,
That's right. Yeah.
agrumo.ca.
Okay.
I think, wonderful, really, to all physicians. I could say she has a very specific solution. She is giving, laying down in the problem for the problems. I think it is a really that as you said that we need, you all physicians need to come back to the general public and say what things are going on, and you use that leverage with the patients, starting with the patients, starting with the podcast like us. And I think you're bringing the problem to the front lines. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Irith.
Ramana.
Truly an honor. And also
Likewise.
especially thank you for joining from Montreal, Canada, which I
My
love.
pleasure.
And then I'm going to talk about a physician doctor like you who came from the same school, same alumni from you, from the McGill University, Dr. Charles Drew. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Romana. Have a
Okay,
wonderful
good
evening.
night. Bye bye. Okay, guys, so let me talk about this. Dr. Charles Drew. This is, that Doctor. That is a Dr. Irith Lebovich. She's Argentinian born, but grew up in Israel, and then practicing in Canada. That's where the world is should be. You get so much perspective from this kind of an international world with the healthcare. Thank you so much. But anyway, I'm going to make a quick, the introduction about this Dr. Charles Drew. Let me talk about a little bit of recently COVID convalescent plasma. They were a big talk about convalescent plasma in the COVID times. What they do, convalescent plasma, is basically you take the blood of people who survived the COVID-19, and then take hopefully they have the antibodies, and then transplant, give that blood to the patients who have the COVID symptoms. This is this is the one of the treatment plans. I don't know what the status of that, but that is one of the options thrown into that system during the pandemic. So when you talk about that's a convalescent plasma. Plasma is, I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I don't need to explain to the doctors, but when you talk about plasma, you have to talk about this doctor, Dr. Charles Drew. He is the composition of blood that you see in the you see the composition of blood here. 55% is actually is a basically plasma. It's just a yellow liquid that you see, that is a thick yellow liquid. Then the 45% is the blood cells, 1% is the white cells, and then platelets. That's just a very small number. But plasma is a large. What Charles do, what they found out is that if you take the plasma and give it to the patients instead of giving the whole blood, is not the infusion you do without any drugs, of course. So that you can do. I think you can add any kind of medications to it. That becomes infusion. So that is a plasma, is a one you need to talk about. Dr. Charles Drew. He is is synonymous with the word plasma. So that Charles Drew in Washington D.C. was born in Washington D.C. in 1904, and he died in 1950. He had a short life. I tell you, tragically he died in a car accident. I will explain to you in a second. But he went to school in Montreal. He applied to the Harvard University and a couple of schools in the United States. He could not able to get because of the requirement process. Then he went straight to the straight to Montreal, Canada, McGill University. He applied in the McGill, and then he excelled in McGill because that, as you said, that Irith was saying about the Jewish and the black community. They're all there. It is less restringent kind of a racial lines in those in Canada than United States. So we have big politics going on here now with the elections are coming up. So, but that's less stringent lines there. So I think he excelled that when he was athlete. He was a very famous athlete, and in the United States, he was a winner of. He was in the lot of. He's a very track star. I think he's in track. So he excelled in athletics, and then also he did very good in school in Montreal. And then when he went to Montreal, he met a he went to the residency in Montreal General Hospital there. Hospital General Montreal. Let Edith say that word. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I always say that. That's why I got kicked out of the Montreal because I can't speak French. He met an English doctor, a British from England, is a John Betty. He met a doctor, John Betty. He was doing something work in the blood chemistry side. So what he did was he learned something from the blood chemistry. He came back to United States. Dr. Charles Drew came back to United States. He joined in the Freedom Hospital in Washington, D.C. That is where the hospital is, where they treat predominantly African American population. Then actually he went to Colombia. There was a war came out in World War II, and then there's a large number of British soldiers are dying. So they need a lot of need for blood. So the Blood for Britain project started in the United States, and then because of his contacts with John Biddle, that he became a John Biddle, Biddle, I think Biddle. I think I'm saying right. I hope I'm saying right. He was in charge of the Royal Society of Surgeons. He became in charge of the Royal Society of Surgeons. So they had some relationship. Immediately, the United States Navy picked him up for Dr. Charles Drew became United States Navy. That Navy picked him up to do the Bloods for Britain project. So in that one, it is one of the challenging thing is blood storage, because the whole blood storage is a big challenging. Storage and transportation. It is a very weak blood. The storage process, it can be more than 2 days. It deteriorates very quickly into the problems. So that's the reason. What he thought about is plasma. He came up with the idea of the plasma sending to the large quantities, generating plasma and sending to the large quantities there. So that was the leadership that he did. And he actually, not only that, he was one of the excellent management skills he had. He was a very firm leader of leadership, and he gave a confidence to the Britain Royal Society. He wrote a letter to his former boss, former professor, that say that we can provide, the United States can provide all the blood supplies you need. That is the letter that is written there. His confidence is excellent. He is truly a natural leader. So he died. So what happened was that he is also came from he started a mobile blood bank. He's the father of the mobile blood bank. American Red Cross asked him to start the blood bank at the time. So he started one of the mobile blood bank. He started in the United States. That is a picture of that blood bank in the United States. The very strange thing is what happened is that he could not able to, because some segregation issues, he could not able to donate his own blood. So that's why he said that the same blood runs in your veins. That was he was a truly every front. He's a hero in my view. The tragedy, then that after that he was complaining about he quit the blood bank, and then he joined in the Harvard University Medical School, predominantly African American. He trained a lot of surgeons there. In fact, he trained quite a number of African American surgeons that he trained in the United States. Then while he was going to a conference in Tuskegee, Alabama, so that he met a car accident. Unfortunately, he died, and very tragically he died. So that is a short period of life, but a short time. But he contributed to the medicine quite a bit. I don't know why he didn't win the Nobel Prize. What he did was saved millions of people through the plasma and the transfusion and infusion These are the things that truly deserves a great hero. U.S. Navy, what they did was they put a cargo ship named after him. A lot of people gave a excellent tribute for him. The Charles Drew. That's a Charles Drew ship, and then he was he was I went to Charles Drew Medical School. I didn't go to school there. I visited there with my friend Dr. Richard Allen Williams. He is one of the board of trustees there. I think he is very well connected there. I went there, and there's a U.S. postage stamp was released. U.S. postage stamp was released on behalf of on the Charles Drew. Then school is excellent. Then I went there and I met some people there. That's a picture that I taken with the Dr. Richard Allen Williams. He's another legend of. He's a cardiologist there. He is my hero, one of my heroes, definitely. So thank you for watching. It's a Charles Drew is a truly is a Charles Drew is a symbol of courage, determination, and then truth. That's the kind of people we need as a physicians. We need to talk to all the friends. Everything is, as a physician, all the patients are basically, you see, with the one spectrum, sick people, and you make them better. That's only one. Then nothing else. Any other politics doesn't mean. It doesn't matter anything. My father is a doctor in a village. He treated everybody. So that is the only way that's the world can progress. Thank you so much for watching, and good night. And I am going to good night for all of you. And give me that 1 second. I'm going to play this.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.